So, welcome to another special edition of the Holden Village podcast. I am your host, Dev, he, him pronouns, and I am with the wonderful John Tirro.
Also he, him pronouns.
Sweet, from, do you say Sicily or?
No, well, the name's from Sicily and some chunk of my family. I'm currently from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about Knoxville?
My wife lives there.
Beautiful. That's all you need.
And also my son, my grown son Andy and his wife Kate live there, which is very sweet. Our younger son Trevor is at NYU. I also love my church.
Excellent. Shout out to the church.
St. John's.
St. John's. Oh, John from St. John's.
Mm-hmm. Probably both named after the same figure.
Probably. Maybe the church was named after you, actually.
Like just retroactively?
Right, exactly.
Somehow
are
in
you into
1888 they just knew.
Yeah, right.
I went back in the time continuum and messed with things and got my own church.
There you go. That's how churches start, actually. So, for all the listeners out there, we are in one of the Narnia rooms.
Yeah.
Because it was requested that a piano be close by. John is our resident musician for the week.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you might just hear some random piano things. Whoa. Okay. Excellent.
That was random.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Scaring away the ghosts.
Right. Of which there are many. In this building specifically. Have you been to the downstairs?
No.
Neither have I, actually, but that's like where
Who's
all the...
buried there?
All of them.
Okay. Right?
I feel like we need like a musical representation. You know, something in E flat.
Sometimes it seems like there's no way of knowing why it's all worth it and where we belong. Sometimes we pray for a way to keep going. Sometimes it's clear that we're carried along, safe as baby Moses in the rushes, floating toward what God has planned. That's the way the Father holds us dear in His sight, cradled in His hands.
There's another verse and a bridge, and one notable thing about that, we wrote that before I at least was broadening our understanding of God's gender.
Yeah.
And of people's gender. And I think one of the things that this song nudges toward is recuperating Father as a potentially gentle and caring thing, which bears some witnessing.
Wonderfully played.
Thank you.
The D flat also like hits like in that song.
Yeah.
Like that's the magic sauce for me.
Oh, there's a neat moment too that comes later. Check this out. So we when we get to the bridge, it goes from that to. So you're basically taking from this note and you're breaking out to these things.
That's. Oh yeah.
It's a really nice thing. I grew up in a household that had both a broad range of centuries, classical tradition and choral music going on in it, which would have some crunchy chords, some of it, but also jazz, because my mom was more in the choral music zone and my dad more in the jazz zone, but they both enjoyed each other's enjoyments. But yeah, you come out of, that's the way the Father holds us dear in His sight, cradled in His hand. It's just a little distance, but even when the river rolls, the darkest and the deepest, we can rest assured.
perfect.
Safe as baby Moses, and etc.
Ah, so delicious.
Thank you. Yeah, I wrote that with Lisa Ashman, who's one of my very best co-writers in kind of Christian devotional music that opens out into, maybe broader possible
Absolutely.
understandings.
When was your first memory of music is my jam?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there was this Asia song from 1982, and I had just figured out how to play in the auditorium of our high school, and I think it's just me and the electric piano that I've just gotten access to because I was willing to learn enough of how to play a baritone horn so they would allow me to play the electric Rhodes piano in the jazz band. So I've got access and I'm playing this thing here, just enjoying it myself, and these two girls come walking in and they say, "Play it again!" and then I played it again, and then they said to play it again, and I think that's the first time where it felt like my jam. And similarly, when I got to college, lots of people could play songs that other people knew, but by that point I'm starting to write songs. And that was a way to stand out. And I think for a while, there was it was a lot of connection to getting attention. And then to realize it is actually nice to get standing ovations when you do things. And now that I've moved into a pastoral role, it's notably not appropriate, at least in my liturgical tradition, for me to get a standing ovation for anything during worship. Because, I'm supposed to be more like the finger of John the Baptist, pointing toward Jesus.
Yeah. I want to give you a standing ovation all the time.
Oh, well, thank you. We could do mutual standing ovations.
Totally, yeah.
Just start climbing on furniture to see who can get the higher.
Absolutely. Because everything is a competition,
Yeah. That is the point.
Oh, that's great. I thought you were going to point out the gnomes.
Yeah. Well, we have these white-haired, scruffy-haired, long-nosed gnomes, a very happy little family, all with prehensile tails, in a mountain setting much like the one in which we find ourselves now. One dude is fishing.
Right.
He's got an
I think
entire
he
potato
fish.
for a nose, like a long potato at that. Anyway, that's the piano.
And that's the
1981. Somebody painted this playful, friendly thing for the children's music enjoyment.
I didn't mean to take you away from your train of thought.
I think it's nice. And also, we've got these beautiful finger paints and leaf prints that the kids have done, and the cutest little fire rescue outfit. You couldn't wrap it around your leg.
We wanted to fit into it.
Imaginatively.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, costumes just hanging up on a little teeny hooks. So sweet, this room. Yeah, speaking of the alphabet, I saw a kind of touring thing of Dead Sea Scrolls and I forget what else, and it was pointing out that Alpha and Aleph have to do with the head of a thing, and Beth I think is house, and so the alphabet at some level is the head of the house, and it's part of how you say what does and doesn't happen here in a patriarchal society has been kind of aligned with a masculinity that I do dearly hope that we can either find a non-toxic masculinity to embrace or chuck it.
Totally.
But I think it might be easier just to work on healing a thing than destroy it and replace it.
I mean, sometimes destroying things is fun, but
sure,
it's also
sometimes it's part of how you respond to a thing when you've had a bad experience of it. I'm interested in psychologists and what they've discovered recently about the key to a successful relationship, especially a long-term one, is being a safe enough place to work through whatever residual traumas you have without combusting. Essentially, the pastoral role can be an opportunity for like any human interaction, can be an opportunity for healing or furtherance of the problem.
Do you use music as a means for facilitating that process with people as well? Or is that separate delineations?
Oh my
for
goodness,
you?
yes. Lots and lots of ways. We're doing a service tonight where we're using a song that I didn't write, and I need to look up who wrote it so I could give credit for it. And so I don't know, should I sing it or not? Will I screw up your podcast thing?
I would encourage you to try to screw up my podcast thing.
All right.
Then...
But it's some paths intertwining, shadow and light. all is touched by grace. Be not afraid. And it's a lovely thing to just to sing in unison together. But then you can split the room in half and sing it in a round, one side to the other. It does this kind of like one side's up while the other's down, and they kind of support each other. Sometimes a round, is just people get anxious and they're just trying to figure out when their note part comes in. And I think so that on a couple of different levels is a trust fall kind of exercise.
Sure.
Because you're leading somebody into something they don't really know, and then helping them to have an experience of gaining mastery, and also being okay in the space when you don't have mastery, but you're still getting to participate in something beautiful. And so like just that song all by itself is doing that kind of work. Introducing the song does that kind of work. Introducing new music, changing how we do something. All these things are potentially growing our capacity to be resilient in the face of change. It's building trust as long as you've managed it in a trustworthy way.
There's actually a musical improv exercise called musical trust fall. So essentially, like, you'll just play a chord, and I have to like sing the moment you play that chord. So I have no idea like what you're doing, and I just have to just keep singing and like see what happens, and know that we're all gonna be okay.
Okay.
So give me a topic.
Finger painting?
Finger painting. Excellent.
1, 2.
Red paint goes to blue. These are the color spectrum of my youth.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That was great. Thank you for doing that.
Pleasure.
I think that's just a beautiful, simple exercise. You're not going to get the right note exactly. Like
Sure.
It's going to shift and mold, and you just have to.
And I forgot if you came in on. I think you came there.
Yeah,
right?
I think I did. Yeah.
And of course, depending on what else I played, it could have been an entirely different relationship.
Oh, right.
Working with the fact that I start here and you start there, and this is the chord I was thinking of next, and then after you sang something, and then this seemed like the way to go, and thought, well, maybe one predictable move, and
Right.
then we need to work it to something that ends. So we're handling a negotiation in that space of dissonance and consonance, dissonance and resolution. I think I'm probably better at that in a musical field than I am in others, and so
That's
I can
fantastic.
contribute that. And we can talk about it. We're doing some teaching work here. We're doing some learning work, like as we go, like noticing that we know some things or that we've
Right.
learned some things that may be worth sharing. I was a little bit concerned coming in. I was thinking, there is no telling what I'm going to say. I'm like still half in dream mode.
That's perfect. That's actually the best place to be. Like that is, as like Saskia was like talking about like the twilight time, that in between space where the rods and cones are doing different things. Colors are different.
Liturgical theologians talk about liminal space a lot.
Yeah.
When you're on this space, you're neither where you were or where you're going. You're sort of in this in-between space. And of course, the present moment is always a liminal kind of space, a twilight kind of space. And so when I talk about worship as in some sense, it's almost just like a retreat from distraction, a retreat from certain kinds of input, a retreat from certain kinds of expectation that you will have certain kinds of output, and to gather into a gracious space that holds you. Church is an eternal relationship that we have with each other, or an acknowledgement of the fact that we may have an eternal relationship with each other, whether we like it or not. And to hold that with enough safety that we can work through the traumas of the past and gain the healing that comes, and the learning. Because, a large part of what allows humans to get along in the world is learning when we'd like something to go differently in the future than it went in the past. And I think, music's all about that. There's a beautiful Thomas Merton prayer that I set to music that also does some of that kind of, we didn't end up using it this week, at least we haven't yet, because just...
Do you want to play it?
Sure,
As
I'll play it as much
like
of it
an
as I can
ending?
remember. So the people just have the melody. goes back and forth from the cantor to the everybody. My Lord God, I have no idea where I'm going. I do not see the road ahead of me. And then everyone sings, I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself. The cantor, and the fact that I think I am following your will does not mean that I'm actually doing so. And everybody, you know what?
Totally.
I only pulled up that much lyric.
That was perfect. That was excellent.
It goes like that, and it changes keys every time it goes back and forth.
Okay.
And part of what's going on is the congregation, you only get your cue note the moment you need it, not a moment before.
Okay.
And that's part of how you grow. You grow in trust and in your capacity to endure, to gain faith that you actually are moving towards something and can make a way forward.
Thank you for the work that you do and for serenading the village this week and for taking the time to talk with me.
It was a pleasure. Thanks
This
for
was
having
super
me.
fun.